Hey there, lovely people. Today I'm gonna talk a little bit about what I was wearing throughout my Guardian training, the 2 month experience, wilderness experience last year. And that's also like applicable for any kind of longer period where you're staying outside in winter, or especially when it's not both when it's only around freezing and it's more of a wet cold, and then also if it's really cold where it's more of a dry cold, then you can maybe switch around some of it. But especially on that kind of transition period, it's really important to have mostly wool clothes because they still warm you even when they're wet. And Also when you have to dry stuff around the fire, um, it's helpful if it's not some kind of plastic or synthetic that melts as soon as there's a spark on it. So those are just some ideas of why it's important to have wool, and also especially not cotton, but really like sheep wool, because cotton is cooling as soon as it's wet. And that's what you don't want, basically. And so, yeah, that's like, it's a little boring, maybe. But that's the overview of all the clothes that I had. Um, Double the amount for a longer period because I had to switch them around. If you're only going outside for maybe a week or two, then it might not be so important. Um, Also, I'm introducing the garden intensive training, the shorter version, the European shorter version that we're doing in Sweden, in February 2021, and there we're gonna need the same equipment basically. So that's why I'm also sharing about that. If you're thinking of joining us there, it's gonna be 2 weeks intensive training in Sweden, where we're gonna track wolves and figure out what to learn from wolves and wolf packs and how to function together in a group, basically. So that was just a short discourse, and yeah, we're probably going to do more than just that one in February. There's a whole plan to do more in the future, at least from my side. So if you're watching that video later, just check out the page. I'm going to put it in the comments. Yeah, so let's go into it. So here we have the overview of all the items, which is basically, here you have the wool blankets, 2 wool blankets, military grade, very thickly woven, very warm. We had that as basically as mat to lay on, just folded a few times and a few blankets over each other. That's what I slept on. And that's what you can use to also sleep on, or you have a fur that you can use, either deer or reindeer. And then here you have the lower layers, which is either thin or thicker merino wool, long johns, and shirt. This one is a 200, which is light, and then I think this one's a 300 or 400, I don't know. And then the thicker, like the medium thick wool stuff is coming. So here I had a thin wool pair of pants. That's really thin. That's kind of summer thin. And on top, the medium thin wool shirts, which I got from eBay mostly. And then as the topper, like upper layers, depending on how cold it is. You need more and more layers. So I either had 1 or 2 or 3 layers, or 4 or 5. I think in total I had 5 layers on the bottoms and 7 layers on top, or something like that. So I have had like 2 layers of long johns, then the thin wool pants, then those are 2 thick wool pants, but they're different in size, so I can wear one over the other. And so it's just, I think that's also from the military mostly. Old military stuff that they said that they didn't want that anymore because I don't know why. And those are the thick wool shirts. They're also military. They're from Korea. And I also had like 2 that I wore over each other. And it's interesting because the sizes are very different. They're both medium, but they were differently sized. So they can be all kinds of things. And I also got them from eBay. Pretty cheap. So yeah, you can get lucky or not so lucky depending on where you get it from. But yeah, those are really good because they have all of the shirts have the buttons in the front so that you can open and close them depending on how warm you are or cold you are. So if you're running, then you don't want to take off all your layers. You just want to open up, and then the air can come out, and then you can close it again as soon as it gets cold. And those are the medium thick and really thick wool socks that I had from Smart Wool, and they have those kind of air pockets in a way that make it even warmer, I think. And my shoes weren't that big, so I could usually only wear 1 pair of socks in them. Also, I could wear 2, but they were getting wet so fast that it wasn't worth it. And yeah, the socks aren't everything, because here you have the shoes, which are Sorels, and there are different kinds of Sorels. There are older and newer kinds, and ones that someone else kind of made from, and it depends on the quality of the rubber. That's different, but I don't really know how to spot that yet. I know some people who can, and it's important that they have a light tread here, because a lot of the other winter boots that you'll find, they have a really high tread, and they're gonna ruin the soil more and more. And that's why this one is better for if you don't want to ruin the soil. And it's important to have that insole, not an inlay shoe that you can take out so that you can dry it separately. And I had more of those, I think 2, 3, or 4, I don't know, 3 I think, so that I can dry one and then switch it up. Because of the rubber, the shoes, the feet can't breathe that well. That's why the insoles get wet. And you can also help yourself. For example, I experimented a little with also putting insoles on the bottom, like woolen insoles. I also use that for my autumn moccasins. In kind of in the in between times, had like a 5 to 8 centimeter thick wool insole. It was about that thick, I think. Yeah, and then here the overcoat as well. So when it was really, really cold, about minus 30, I had 2 long john layers, then that thin wool jacket, and I think maybe I even put my other thin wool shirt on, then these 2 layers, and then the outer coat, which is an Austrian Loden, and it's basically also just really thick and tightly woven wool. And for that, it's important that it's not just walked wool, because a lot of the walked wool that you can get nowadays, it's knitted and then walked, and that over time kind of reverts back to its original state, and then it's not warm anymore. And I was really frustrated when I got my coat that was like that. But the woven ones are a lot better because they stay forever. That's an old coat that I got from like the Austrian Craigslist Willhaben for 15 euros. So that was really cheap. It's not specifically stylish, but yeah, you can do whatever you want if you have a good sewing machine or someone who knows how to work that. And so yeah, that's the kind of one section of what I had. And I had another 2 thick wool shirts, another thin wool shirt, 2 other thick wool pants to switch them, all of them, and more layers to switch on the long johns, and 2 more wool blankets in the end. And that's a merino scarf, which I also used, and of course a woolen hat, preferably 2 wool hats that you can wear over each other, or a fur hat to wear on top of the wool hat. So we had like normal mittens, where you don't, not the fingers extra, but just the thumb extra and all the other fingers together. And over that we had leather choppers. They're called choppers. I don't know why they're called choppers, but yeah, so here they are. Those are the choppers that I had, which is basically leather, and it had an inliner kind of thing, but we cut it out because it was synthetic. And so we basically had mittens and then pulled those over. And sometimes we had 2 mittens that were layered on top of each other, and then still those. And yeah, it was really funny because in the beginning they were really bright yellow, and I thought, whoa, that's just very bright. But yeah, after 2 months of wilderness, they're not so bright anymore. Yeah, so that's it. As for gear, I hope I didn't forget anything. Yeah, I had a belt and my knife, of course. So that's the knife I had, which is just very simple, very small actually, knife, but it's important that the blade goes through here, that it's not not foldable, so that it's more stable like that. And you can just do almost anything with that. We did have tomahawks as well. I don't have one here now for chopping wood and stuff, but for any kind of butchering animals or cutting veggies or carving wood, that can be used for almost anything. And it's pretty cheap as well. It's not stainless, so it's it dulls easily, but it can also be sharpened more easy than the stainless steel. So you already see like it's definitely not stainless. But I know people who've had those for years and they just work. And I think that's it. So an overview of all of it: the blankets over there, the long johns, the mittens, and the knife, the scarf, the overcoat, of course I had more than 2 pairs of socks. I had maybe 8. And that was needed because I always had to dry socks all the time. And then the pants, the thick shirts, wool shirts, the thin wool shirts, the thin pair of pants, and the shoes. And I also had Vivo Barefoot shoes for when it wasn't like heavy snow, but just autumn wetness or something. The Gobi Vivo Barefoot are perfect for that. So yeah, here are the Vivo Barefoot that I had for when it wasn't that cold. And here you can see also the wool inlay that I had in them. And they're barefoot shoes. They have a really light tread. They're super flexible and really nice with the leather. And yeah, that's, I think, all of it. Yeah, so that was the whole overview of what we wore outside when living in the wilderness for 2 months or longer. The people who stayed longer also had the same gear, basically. And so if you have any more questions, if I left something out, if you want to learn more, also either about the training that I did and hearing some more stories, you can sign up for my list. Or if you're interested in the Guardian Intensive training, either in February or in the future, yeah, just check in the links in the comments, leave a comment if you liked it, or just a thumbs up, or whatever you feel like, how you want to support us if you enjoyed that. And I'd love to hear comments on whatever I might have missed, or why we had that the way we had. Yeah, so thank you for watching the pretty long video. You must really be interested in that. So I'm grateful for everybody who is willing to really go into the details of what does it mean to live outside, especially in winter. And not just theoretically, but really digging deeper. So I'd love to see you at some point, if you're interested. And otherwise, I wish you a wonderful day or evening or whatever it is while you're watching it. So thank you. Till next time.